All right, so I got it verified. It is going to be a Walmart pickup. All right, so I got it verified. It is going to be a Walmart pickup. So there'll be several deliveries there, and we'll be doing that for a little while. I don't think as many as last time, but it'll be a few. And then we'll get on to the next one. So we've got 17 miles for the pickup. We'll be there in 22 minutes. We'll arrive at 3:48 in the PM, as in afternoon. So it's not like apocalyptic time or something where it was 3:48 in the AM, or like what's going on, some kind of weird sun, you know, showing the Earth where it shouldn't have been, or some new star approach. It's 3:48 in the PM, so it's the regular sun that we're used to, and we're going to be heading out past Fort Worth to pick up some Walmart. Drop it off at your doorstep. Right, kitty? That's right, kitty. You doing okay? Yeah, I'm probably going to set up my application again at Apple Store, probably the one on University. I really would enjoy learning all about Apple and being a salesperson. And I do have sales experience, but of course they would probably end up garnishing, you know, because of the child support and everything. But maybe, you know, maybe you do well enough. I don't know if those guys are doing 20 or 30 an hour plus commission. I have no clue. But it's the wealthiest company in the world. So they're by far, they're way in the lead. We're talking, I don't even know the amount. I'll check it out later. But Apple is very, very wealthy. So I will be turning in an application probably the next couple of days. I don't know why I only turned in one. But you go to their website, I guess to their store, and you just turn in, or you just basically put in an application, and they eventually make you a salesperson. And I'm sure there's techies there too. They'll tell you everything you need to know about Apple in a matter of just a few seconds on certain items. Especially the guy with the AirTag. He told me everything I needed to know as if he read my mind. It was amazing. But yeah, you have to be 100 meters with the AirTag from another Apple device, or what he called an iOS device. It'll bounce off that device anywhere in the world, and you can see where they're at. They have to have that iOS device there for it to work. And there's Apples everywhere. There's the Demon of Fort Worth. Cutting Edge Haunted House. All right, guys, welcome back to the Please Subscribe Show. You want to get an Apple Watch because that puppy has a GPS on it. It also has like a Garmin device, very similar to a Garmin, if you know what a Garmin is. So if you're out in the woods and you get lost, it can find you through satellite. It can also call the authorities, so it does dial 911 if you were in an accident and you had an Apple Watch. I don't know how it reads it, but it can also read your heart and blood pressure, so your heartbeat. So it knows your health, and it'll call the cops for you, or it'll call, you know, the ambulance or the fire department or whatever. It'll call the authorities, the first responders. So you want to get one if you can afford it. Now some of them are $799. He mentioned I think $499 on the show. So that was kind of an Apple Watch show. I did talk about the AirTag, which I think is great for if you're traveling. You want to try to get an AirTag. I've met many people that have baggage and they're always waiting on their baggage, like, where is it? The thing will start beeping once it's 100 meters from you. I think even 30 meters, of course, it reads it fine. But it'll read it anywhere in the world as long as that device, that AirTag, is around another iOS device. So it's around another iPhone. It doesn't have to be your iPhone. It could be anyone else's iPhone or an iOS device. You'll know exactly where it's at, pinpointing it. The reason why I know this is because I helped a friend. We both went to Austin. I could see his luggage where he was staying across town because it was bouncing off another device. So it showed me exactly where it was. That's the AirTag. So I did do some research on that and found out that that is true. It does do that. Another thing too, third, is of course the iPad Pro. That's essential, you know. If I had one of those, my show would be wild and crazy. And I do plan to get one. Also, I love the fact that you can have Final Draft Go on it if you're a screenwriter. So if you're writing a screenplay, you can get it for free. You just tap on it, the software comes right down onto the iPad Pro, and you're good to go as fast as possible to write that screenplay overnight. Or if you want to work on it for like 4 years like I have been doing. Another thing too is that you have notes on it. So you can use notes like you would on your phone. They now have combined with Microsoft Word. Remember back then when they had WordPerfect, little Einstein would come up and tell you that your grammar was wrong? And you're like, oh, hi, Einstein, how you doing? You don't know how to write. That's what he'd say to you. It's like, let me show you how to write. And he'd give you all these other examples. I wish they would all do that. I loved writing term papers and going, oh, that's how you form that sentence. And then you press on the button, it forms it for you. Don't do that, kids. Use pen and paper or pen and write it all out by yourself. I do it with note cards sometimes. They do Word. So they have a Word device that's connected with Microsoft. That'll pull up, and it's just like using Word on Microsoft. And it's right there. Right there next to the Safari or whatever on your iPad Pro. Yeah, I like the Apple Maps. Look how 3D it looks right here. Isn't that cool? You can actually see the actual bridges and stuff, and there are the bridges that it reveals. You're going through a mix master right here. Pretty cool. Roll away from Oklahoma. Right, this is the North Richland Hills Walmart location. We have arrived. And we're gonna pick a lane and patiently wait. All right, it'll ask you what bay. You put in the number that you chose and then call that number to check in. Apparently, you can just basically scan each item. If you hit the bottom button on Roadies, you just go through and scan each one really quick. This guy just showed me. There's some cool dude here at this store. All right. Sweet pies and ribeyes. All right. So the first drop off will be exactly 11 miles. We'll be there in 18 minutes at 4:28 on the arrival. Sometimes the 3D stuff is hard to read, but I think you can set it. The Apple doesn't have to be 3D always. Just, you know, however you want to drive. Anyway, it's 8 more miles, 12 minutes. We'll be there at 4:26 in the p.m. All right, guys, looks like someone's in for maybe an oil change. I have to get mine done pretty soon myself, but I highly recommend a company called Endurance, because you can always claim an oil change with them. But this looks like Apocalypse Now or something going through this. They're further down the way. Not as dramatic as Francis Ford Coppola, but a hint. That's why sometimes when I go under things, that's what I'm taking from is Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now, which I think is one of our greatest movies, and on my top 20. Now on war films, because I have a whole collection of just war films, it's my top 3rd, right there by Full Metal Jacket and Platoon. So sometimes it switches to Full Metal Jacket to Apocalypse Now as a top 2. And of course Platoon is there as well. And I sat in the same room as Johnny Depp because he was in Platoon. He played the interpreter. All right, we're going to pick up this up, or actually we're going to drop it off at your doorstep. Dun 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 dun. Crash zoom. Dun 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 dun. I love the way of. I'm sorry. Let's start over. Could you imagine messing up that shot? I love the smell of someone's burnt oil in the morning. It smells like Roadie and Victory. You know, Robert Duvall's like one of our finest. It's due to a mosquito. Mosquito hit the front of the sonar. Yeah, Robert Duvall. He was in Fort Worth not that long ago. He loves the smell of napalm in the morning. It smells like Victory. Don't forget about Mamma Mia. They're like an old school Italian grill. Plaza right there in Halton. Right in the corner of Belknap. And Riverside. They've got cool paintings on the wall too. Can't tell if it's a Hoover. Full on zombie movie. Chandler. Friends movie. You know, Matthew Perry, he went out the right way, you know. He beat the war of addiction and then had a nice hot tub, but he went out the right way, so I'm glad he beat it towards the end. Do not go that way. You understand? Nope, do not do it. All right, he was on the left side. Yes, the black cats. I respect it. There's a poodle. He can go anywhere he wants. I got some of it. I was thinking about Hunter S. Thompson earlier. I don't know why. I go into the moods when I think about him. I start talking about him a little bit. This guy over here is probably friends with the other one. He's about as cute as a stinker. Sometimes I say weird things, like the window tattering on the window, or the rain tattering on the window, or even the window tattering. It doesn't even make sense, but it does, because rain can hit the window and tatter, like, you know, and like clothing tatters. If you've done a white blotter. Now, I changed that to tap in the script, so the rain taps on the window. That way, people are like, "Well, far out, man." It just, you know, I'm just telling what happens in that section where Gerald Oldman III comes flying in. Yeah, you don't want me to get all Hunter S. Thompson in the show. Would just go real sideways. But I know how he feels. He got beat up by the Hells Angels for stepping in the poo-poo, and he didn't go out right either. So. Well, I did write a poem about Gonzo back in the day when they had poetry.com, and the whole entire poetry.com went, so I lost about 500 poems of my own. I still do it. I just post on Facebook only because I trust Zuckerberg a little bit. Well, I trust him enough, but I put it on, I categorize it. See, a lot of my categories I just realized were on only me, so I've been publicizing all my categories. So if you go to my Facebook page, you can just read all my stuff. You can't read Escape from Maine. That's only going to be on Fiction Press or Fan Fiction. It's about 1,000 pages of me planning to save up money to go back to Texas. And I meet this one chick. We smoke a little bit of herb in the side of, I was in Dover Foxcroft by the Masonic Lodge. And I did a Christmas play where I played Halloran in Miracle on 34th Street. I don't know if that guy saw it though. But probably not. It's very cold in Maine, and if you're an actor, I highly recommend a Carhartt coat, one that's can stand a dog bite, where the dog's teeth can't even get through it. A really thick coat. You can get them at Griffiths, right down there off of kind of by Hardwood Products, for about $70 is what I got mine for. I got it on credit. It was the warmest coat I ever had. Got through all the cold stuff and everything. Bradley Cooper was actually doing A Star Is Born at the time, and I didn't get jealous of it until a few years later. It was doing that behind my back with Lady Gaga. And it's no big deal. It's just, you know, you got paid more, and I was throwing wood around writing about it. But I wrote when I was at the Actors Studio. I did. Not like Gonzo. but I did write. I wrote about a wolf. True story. It's called Trapped in 3. Originally, it was called Trapped. It's about a guy in a Cherokee that gets trapped in Chicago, or out of Chicago, upside down, kind of like in the middle of nowhere, kind of in the woods. And the Cherokee flips over, and he gets caught with a seatbelt. He didn't have his Apple Watch or anything, because it happened like in the late 80s or something. And a wolf starts coming around, smelling, figuring out that he's trapped. It takes a while, and eventually ends with him trying to choke the wolf trying to get him for food. And they're probably trying to eat each other, really. And then he becomes the wolf, and he runs off with his wolf clan. It's kind of a werewolf film. It was called Trapped, and I changed the title Trapped in 3. And then Lipton eventually kicked me out. Well, he didn't kick me out. He asked me to get some help. But I had to write it. It just came out, I had a tower computer like a Dell. It was my mom's. This chick named Alexis. She was an English professor from California, some poly-cal school. She mailed it to me when I was in New York, and I began writing it. She didn't mail my coat, but I had to pick up a coat at Armani. I still need to drop that one back. And then I picked up another coat as a pea coat at where was that one at? Burlington Coat Factory in New York. Yep, picked it up, paid for it and everything. Had that one worn on top of the other one, keep warm. Made it to the interviews. Didn't see Gonzo, but we saw a lot of actors. And Deb showed up. He was there. Talked a little bit about Gonzo. Gonzo's a long story. I don't want to get into it, but we got a cool shot of the I guess you could call that skyline of Fort Worth. Talk a little bit about Gonzo. Deb lived in the basement, and Gonzo had basically shaved his head so he could feel what it was like for a great writer to cut his hair. And eventually he became Gonzo and did a great movie, which we'll get into this. And this is a keeper. Okay, this is one we're gonna have to talk about a little bit longer, a little later. Called, you guessed it, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. The one and only Hunter S. Thompson wrote it, and Johnny Depp and a guy named Benicio del Toro, which I talked to. And I told him, I said, if I'm gonna act, and put the words, and he said, you just don't worry about it. Just make them your own words first. They'll give you scripted words, make it your own. Whatever language you speak, whatever it is, make it your own, and then switch it over to theirs, memorize it. And if you want, you can write them down. If you want, you can type them, he told me. So he knew. But I didn't tell him. I didn't stand up and say, hey, I'm writing a book about a wolf. Can I talk to you? But no, that was Benicio. He talked to me. He's a pretty cool guy. This is before Sicario, but right after Traffic. So he had already done Traffic and won an award. It's called an Oscar, Best Supporting. And he did really well. Both of them, Fear and Loathing. Got to see it. It's probably one of the best. But Deb stylized the crap out of it. We never experienced. You'd never even believe. And then Bill Murray was able to kind of get a version of him in American Buffalo. I personally am a big favor of Deb's version of it. I think everybody is, because he did all the movements and everything, weird movements and things. And also he kind of became him, because that's kind of how Gonzo was a little bit. It was a little crazy. He did smoke like a penguin pipe, those little penguin cigar things. Well, put a little cigarette on the end of it. And he talked a little bit like this, how I'm talking now, a little bit. I had to get that old bridge. Here comes a UPS. Yeah, that could have been the end. We're going around a bend, going around the bend. River Bend is actually where we're headed. There's another cool bridge right here. Out in the woods, cringing. Hey, he'll probably get back around at Walt Disney, hopefully. If they let him in again. Just don't go back in the dressing rooms. I highly recommend nobody go back there. The girls are pretty hot. Of course, if you do, just pretend like you're putting on a Disney outfit, and you should be okay. Or if you do go back there, well, you don't want. The weird things have happened at Walt Disney World. Weird things. There was a guy that knew Shepard Fairey, Banksy, I think is his name. He put up a portable prisoner of war thing that was like on the Guatemala Bay thing, and they didn't like it. But he ran off. He changed clothing and was able to escape. The other guy, I think his name was I don't know, Dr. Brainwash or something. He had to hang back and get interviewed. But they were like, don't do that. And we respect Walt Disney World. And don't put up inflatable POWs anytime soon. I haven't seen any Banksy around, though. If I see one, though, I'll get out a hammer and a chisel and go to town. Usually they're on the walls and they don't last very long. They chisel them out because they're almost priceless. Excuse me. Yeah, you see a Banksy, go to Home Depot and get that hammer and chisel and go to town, because you'll set yourself free, especially if you get a hold of it. They're hard to find, and also to identify that it's him. Let's go into a cafe.